The stars above Earth shone quietly, 1,000 pinpricks of light in the vast darkness. From orbit, the blue planet looked peaceful, ordinary, almost unremarkable. Yet, hidden in its small cities and deserts, humans were doing things no alien could have predicted. Far beyond Earth, in the Council's observation chambers, the alien diplomats watched in silence. They had seen hundreds of worlds, each unique in its own way. Some were beautiful and calm, others were violent and chaotic. But none of them had ever produced creatures like humans. The Council's sensors first detected Earth because of strange energy fluctuations. They were subtle at first, a ripple in the electromagnetic spectrum. Then they grew stronger. Reports came from distant scouts, satellites moving erratically, chemical reactions that should have destroyed entire regions, and a burst of radio signals that didn't make sense. "The planet is primitive," said Ambassador Vorth, a sleek blue-scaled diplomat with eyes like molten gold. "Why are these creatures so unusual?" "They are curious," replied the older, rounder diplomat, Takar. "And their curiosity is reckless." Meanwhile, on Earth, in the middle of a wide desert, a group of humans had gathered around a rocket. It was a small, homemade rocket, patched together with metal scraps, duct tape, and more enthusiasm than caution. Jake, the leader of the group, wiped sweat from his brow. "All right, team," he said, grinning. "This is it. This is the moment humans show the universe what we're made of." "You mean what we're about to blow up?" asked Lena, holding a clipboard nervously. Jake waved his hand. "Minor details. Trust me." He picked up a small bottle of soda, popped the cap, and took a swig. "Hold my beer." Lena froze. That phrase had been spoken by Jake many times before. Every time he said it, something completely unpredictable happened. Usually it worked out, but often in ways no one could explain. The rocket surprisingly ignited. It rose into the sky with a fiery roar, leaving a trail of smoke behind. Sensors picked up the speed, the trajectory, and a tiny wormhole that opened unexpectedly around it. "Is that a wormhole?" whispered Lena. Jake just grinned. "Yep, looks like it." From their observation station, Ambassador Vorth's antennae twitched. "This is impossible. No creature should be able to generate such energy without advanced technology." "It is not impossible," said Takar quietly, "if they do not know fear." The rocket disappeared into the wormhole. Minutes later, a signal pinged back. The rocket had returned, intact. Not only that, but the instruments on board had collected data that none of the galaxy's most advanced civilizations had ever recorded. The aliens were stunned. "They did this by accident?" Vorth asked. "Deliberately," said Takar. "Curiosity is dangerous when paired with joy." Back on Earth, the humans were celebrating. Jake jumped up and down, raising his arms. "Did you see that? It worked! I told you it would work!" Lena shook her head. "You don't even know why it worked," Jake laughed. "Who cares? It worked." "That's what matters." In the council chambers, debate erupted. "This species cannot be underestimated," one diplomat shouted. "They are primitive, yes, but their recklessness is unprecedented." "They are small," said another. "They could not possibly challenge the galaxy." "They have already created a wormhole with nothing but scrap metal and soda," Takar said, frowning. "I would not call that small." Over the next few weeks, humans continued their experiments. They built strange machines, launched new rockets, and even attempted to map the stars using handmade telescopes. The council watched, growing increasingly worried. On Earth, humans did not see themselves as dangerous. To them, the universe was a playground, a place for discovery and laughter. When a team accidentally ignited a mini-fusion reactor in the lab, it exploded in a brilliant display of light. Instead of panicking, they cheered. "Hold my beer," someone said, and the next experiment began immediately. By now, the council had sent scouts to study Earth more closely. They disguised themselves as clouds, birds, and even small rocks. But no matter what form they took, humans noticed them. Instead of running, the humans invited the alien observers to join. One scout, disguised as a small drone, hovered near a human engineer named Sam. Sam adjusted a satellite and noticed the drone. "Hey there, little guy," Sam said. "You want to help me fix this?" The drone transmitted the scene back to the council. "They see everything," the diplomats muttered. "And they are friendly or dangerously reckless." By now the galaxy had taken notice. News of humans' strange experiments spread like wildfire. Entire star systems debated whether to classify humans as a threat. Protocols were written. If a human says, "Hold my beer," raise threat level immediately. Humans, of course, were unaware of the panic they caused. They continued their experiments with innocent curiosity. In one city, they built a machine to test gravity. It failed spectacularly, smashing the lab ceiling, but they laughed and tried again. In another place, a group of children rigged a homemade telescope to peer into space. The telescope accidentally detected a distant alien fleet moving past the Milky Way. The children cheered. "Cool. Let's see what happens if we wave at them." Back in the council chambers, the diplomats sighed. "They are a species unlike any other," Takar said. "They are unpredictable, fearless, and infinitely curious. We cannot control them." Vorth nodded slowly. "Then we must watch them closely and always be ready." On Earth, Jake and his friends were preparing their next experiment. They had built a new rocket larger than the last with strange markings, wires, and a few old computer parts. "All right, everyone," Jake said. "This one is bigger, more dangerous, and probably more fun." "Do we even know what it will do?" Lena asked. Jake grinned. "Does it matter? Hold my beer." As the rocket ignited, the ground shook. Birds flew into the sky. Windows rattled in nearby towns. And somewhere in the far reaches of space, alien sensors picked up energy spikes that no one could explain. The humans cheered. They had no idea the galaxy was now on alert. They only knew that curiosity, courage, and laughter had led them to do something incredible. Somewhere in the council chambers, Takar whispered, "This species will change everything." And far away, Vorth muttered, "We might all regret this, or we might be amazed." On Earth, humans didn't care either way. They were too busy laughing, experimenting, and preparing the next impossible challenge. And so, the legend began. The species that could do the impossible, that never knew fear, and that could turn even failure into success. The galaxy for the first time began to realize that humans were not just another species. They were a force of nature, a storm wrapped in laughter. A species whose greatest power was their courage and curiosity. And somewhere in the vast universe, the phrase, "Hold my beer," became a warning. A signal. A sign that something extraordinary and probably chaotic was about to happen. Because when humans said it, the galaxy had learned one truth. Nothing was predictable, nothing was safe. And yet somehow, everything was possible. After their first spectacular displays of curiosity and courage, humans had unknowingly earned the galaxy's attention. Across star systems, alien diplomats debated the strange species that called themselves human. The Interstellar Peace Council had watched Earth for years now, observing humans experimenting with energy, gravity, and forces that should have destroyed them long ago. Meanwhile, back on Earth, humans were unaware of their growing reputation. To them, life was a sequence of challenges to solve, mysteries to explore, and adventures to enjoy. At the United Earth Science Corps headquarters, Dr. Mira Cole was preparing her latest experiment. Mira was not a soldier, nor a politician. She was a scientist with a restless mind, curious about everything in the universe. Her team had designed a probe capable of entering high-energy regions of space, even near distant stars. "Are you sure this is safe?" asked her assistant Theo, watching the probe glow under the lab lights. "Safe?" Mira laughed. "Theo, you know I don't do safe. I do amazing. And amazing usually means dangerous." She paused, took a breath, and smiled. "Hold my beer." With a press of a button, the probe rocketed into space. It pierced the upper atmosphere and accelerated toward a distant star cluster. Ground sensors recorded data streaming back at a speed no human computer had handled before. And yet, the probe returned safely intact, carrying information that shocked even the most advanced scientists. Unbeknownst to Mira and her team, the Galactic Council had been observing every step. They did not understand how humans survived. Every experiment seemed more reckless than the last, yet humans emerged victorious, or at least unscathed, every time. "This species is impossible to calculate," said Ambassador Vorth to the Council. "Every time they act, they break our models. They should not exist at this level of chaos and success." "They are small, yes," Takar replied. "But their determination is unlike anything we have seen. They do not fear, they do not hesitate, and they do not surrender. They are remarkable." Word of humans' latest achievement spread quickly. Alien species who had once ignored Earth were now cautious, respectful, or in some cases terrified. The phrase, "hold my beer," had already become a universal code among the galaxy's scouts, signaling that humans were about to attempt the impossible. In the meantime, Earth prepared for its first official contact with alien species. The Galactic Council decided it was time to invite humans to a summit, a meeting of worlds. The Council's representative, a tall, elegant diplomat named Saris, was sent to Earth in a shimmering craft designed to appear as a holographic projection. Humans were unsurprised. They had seen the strange craft hovering above the city. When Saris introduced themselves, Jake, the same human who had first launched the wormhole rocket, stepped forward. "Nice to meet you," Jake said, extending a hand. "I'm Jake, and you are?" "I am Saris of the Galactic Council," said the hologram, bowing slightly. "We have observed your species for some time. Your courage and curiosity are unusual," Jake grinned. "Unusual? That's just our style. Want to see what we can do?" Saris blinked. "We would observe." Over the next few weeks, humans showed the aliens everything from energy experiments to satellite engineering. Aliens were baffled by the humans' methods, which often included duct tape, coffee, and sheer luck. In one demonstration, humans used a simple magnet, a pile of scrap metal, and a homemade computer to stabilize a small energy core. Aliens gasped as the energy not only stabilized but exceeded all projections. "This is impossible," said a young alien engineer named Zylara. "They have no understanding of safety, no fear of failure, yet they succeed." Mira laughed. "Sometimes you have to try before you know if it's safe. You can calculate forever, or you can act. We prefer acting." At the summit, humans were officially recognized as members of the Galactic Council, but not because of diplomacy or politics. It was because humans had demonstrated a power no one else had: the ability to challenge the impossible and succeed. With their new status, humans were allowed to travel to other worlds, visit distant space stations, and interact with alien species firsthand. They introduced ideas, inventions, and a unique brand of humor that spread quickly. On the trade planet of Solaris, humans offered aliens coffee, a bitter, hot drink that made even the most cautious species jittery and hyperactive. Aliens did not understand why humans found it so enjoyable, but humans laughed and explained, "It's fuel for ideas. Makes your brain faster." In the meantime, human engineers were already planning bigger projects. They wanted to build a network of satellites across multiple star systems, test warp drives, and study strange celestial phenomena. Every time they tried something new, aliens gathered to watch, sometimes hiding behind shields or out of sight, ready to flee if humans failed catastrophically. One notable event happened when a human team attempted to capture a small asteroid to study its composition. The team had no proper guidance systems, no advanced targeting arrays, only a few thrusters and their own intuition. As the asteroid drifted toward them, the team cheered. "Hold my beer!" shouted one of them, throwing a magnetic grappler at the rock. The asteroid obeyed the humans' crude manipulation. They moved it safely into orbit while the aliens watching gasped in astonishment. Some even wrote detailed reports warning other species about humans' unpredictable nature. Despite all the excitement, humans remained humble. They did not see themselves as heroes or geniuses. They were explorers, curious and brave, willing to face any challenge with a smile and a laugh. Saris observed this carefully. "They are not violent," they noted. "Yet they possess a force that can change events across the galaxy. If we misjudge them, the consequences could be unexpected." Meanwhile, the Interstellar Peace Council quietly updated its protocols. Any detection of humans initiating a project would now trigger a maximum alert level. The phrase "hold my beer" was logged into every fleet AI system as a danger signal. It was a warning. Humans were capable of outcomes beyond prediction, and the galaxy must be ready. Yet humans themselves never worried. On their first official space mission, they boarded a newly constructed transport ship bound for the Council's headquarters. They were amazed by the sheer scale of space travel, alien ships larger than cities, networks of satellites that could move planets, and technology that seemed impossible. "Wow," said Lena, staring out at a galaxy full of stars. "I can't believe we're actually here," Jake laughed. "I told you it would happen. Never underestimate humans." When the Council representatives welcomed them, humans did not bow or kneel. They smiled, shook hands, and immediately began asking questions about alien technology, trade routes, and star formations. They were curious, enthusiastic, and, as always, fearless. For aliens, observing humans was like watching a storm of energy and creativity. They could not predict what humans would do next. Sometimes humans failed spectacularly, sometimes they succeeded beyond belief. Either way, the outcome was always memorable. One evening, Mira stood on the observation deck looking at the nebulae beyond the station's shields. "The galaxy is bigger than I imagined," she said quietly. "And we are just getting started." Theo smiled. "Do you think they're ready for us?" Mira laughed softly. "They don't have a choice. We're already here." She looked down at her tablet, scanning data from recent experiments. "And remember, curiosity is our strongest weapon. Never fear to try the impossible." Jake walked by, holding a small alien gadget he was trying to understand. "I think this thing might explode if I press this button. But hold my beer." The aliens nearby stiffened. Some fled to observation rooms. Others whispered warnings. And somewhere in the galaxy, the automated threat level systems flickered, spiking to maximum. Humans laughed as sparks flew from the gadget. The explosion was tiny, controlled, and harmless, but it did exactly what humans intended. It lit up the observation deck in brilliant colors. For the first time, aliens truly understood. Humans did not follow rules in the way other species did. They created their own rules. They explored without fear. And they thrived in chaos, turning every challenge into a discovery. By the time the mission ended, humans had already left a mark on every alien they met. Some were inspired, some were cautious, and some were utterly terrified. But every species agreed on one thing: humans were extraordinary. As humans returned to Earth, they looked up at the stars with new wonder. They had seen new worlds, met strange beings, and learned things no human could have imagined. Yet to them, it was just another adventure, and the galaxy continued to watch, wary but fascinated. Because whenever a human said, "Hold my beer," everyone knew one truth: the impossible was about to happen. The legend of humanity was no longer confined to Earth. It was spreading across star systems, whispered in council chambers and written into galactic logs, a species small in size, but immense in courage and curiosity. A species that laughed at danger and turned chaos into opportunity. A species that could change the galaxy simply by acting. And somewhere, deep in the council archives, a warning was written for future generations. If a human says, "Hold my beer," prepare for the unexpected, because humans were now part of the galaxy. And the galaxy would never be the same. The United Earth Science Corps had never been more excited or nervous. Years of research, experiments, and interstellar observation had led to this moment. Dr. Mira Cole, now one of humanity's most famous scientists, stood on the launch platform of Project Sundiver, a bold experiment unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. The goal was simple in theory: send a probe into the heart of a nearby star, survive the extreme energy, and return data that could redefine energy research across the universe. Simple, that is, if humans ever did simple. Mira adjusted her lab coat and checked her instruments. Her assistant Theo hovered nearby, biting his lip nervously. "Are you sure about this, Mira?" The probe could vaporize instantly. The data could be lost forever. Mira smiled. "Theo, that's the whole point. If it were easy, anyone could do it. But we're humans. And humans take risks." She paused, eyes glinting with excitement. "Hold my beer." The words, simple and casual, seemed to echo through the observation platform. Ground crews froze. Aliens watching from hidden vantage points leaned forward, and satellites in orbit recorded every detail. Humans had a habit of saying those words right before attempting the impossible, and the galaxy knew to pay attention. The probe ignited and shot toward the sun at unimaginable speeds. Every instrument on Earth and in the nearby solar system strained to keep up. On the alien observation stations, diplomats watched in silence. None had ever seen anything like this. Energy levels spiked. Radiation readings went off the charts. Sensors flickered and recalibrated themselves in panic. "This is madness," whispered Ambassador Vorth, hiding behind a console. "No creature should survive this." "They are humans," Takar replied calmly. "They are designed to survive." Somehow. Back on Earth, the team monitored the probe's progress. Flames danced across its protective shields. Its systems were overheating. Yet somehow the probe held together. Instruments recorded data that not only survived the star's heat, but thrived in it. Exotic particles, energy flows, and patterns previously unknown to science streamed back to Earth. Jake, who had been invited to observe the experiment for morale purposes, clapped his hands. "See? Told you it would be amazing." He held out a soda bottle. "Anyone want to celebrate already?" Theo groaned. "Jake, now is not the time to celebrate. The probe could explode any second." The aliens watching on hidden ships gasped as the probe reached the star's core region. Heat, pressure, and radiation that would destroy any known material did not touch it. The probe transmitted live images, swirling, fiery energy waves, storms of plasma, and glowing loops of energy twisting in patterns no one had ever seen. "It's beautiful," whispered a young alien engineer named Zylara. "It's alive. Somehow alive." Meanwhile, on Earth, Mira typed commands with trembling hands. "We can do this. We can bring it back." The team held their breath. "Theo, initiate retrieval sequence." The probe began its journey back. Every calculation suggested it should fail. Every model predicted destruction. Every alien watching expected a spectacular disaster. And yet, inch by inch, the probe returned to Earth intact. When it landed, the Earth team erupted in cheers. Jake high-fived the nearest engineer, spilling soda everywhere. "I told you." "Hold my beer." Mira stared at the probe, her hands shaking. We actually did it." Theo shook his head in disbelief. "We shouldn't have. It's impossible." "Nothing about humans is impossible," Mira said softly. Far across the galaxy, news of Project Sundiver reached the Interstellar Peace Council. Protocols blinked red. Automated threat systems registered humans as maximum threat level. Ships in distant sectors activated shields and scrambled fleets. Every alien fleet commander knew. If humans were attempting this, anything could happen next. Back at the launch site, the humans were already analyzing the data. The probe had survived unimaginable forces, and the information it carried could revolutionize energy technology across every world. Humans laughed, debated, and argued over interpretations. Chaos ruled the lab, but it was the kind of chaos that led to progress. Ambassador Saris, who had been invited to Earth as an observer, watched silently. "They are not dangerous in the usual sense," Saris whispered to Takar. "But they are extraordinary. I have never seen such success from such recklessness." Takar nodded. "This is why the galaxy must remain vigilant. Their creativity cannot be predicted. Their courage cannot be measured. And their results cannot be ignored." The Sundiver probe's success became a turning point. Alien species began to reconsider their understanding of humans. They were no longer just curious beings. They were a species capable of feats that defied logic. Scientists, engineers, and scholars across star systems began debating the implications of humanity's experiment. Meanwhile, humans, as always, remained blissfully unaware of the panic they caused. To them, it was just another experiment, another challenge conquered. Jake and Lena walked through the lab discussing their next project. "What should we try next?" Lena asked, looking at a map of nearby stars. Jake grinned. "Something bigger, something crazier. I mean, we survived a star, right? Why not try a black hole next?" Theo groaned. "Don't say that out loud. Someone's listening." But of course someone was listening. Across the galaxy, alien fleets monitored every human transmission. Automated systems detected the casual words black hole and immediately activated defensive protocols. Every council member sighed in frustration. Back on Earth, Mira laughed at their conversation. "Let them worry. Humans are humans. We do what we can and we try what others would never dare. That's all there is to it." As the days passed, scientists across the galaxy studied the Sundiver data. Humans had not only survived the star, but they had also discovered new forms of energy that could power entire civilizations. Aliens scrambled to replicate the results, but none could match humans' intuition, creativity, or luck. The Council realized something important. Humans were not just capable of survival. They were capable of rewriting the rules. Every experiment, every challenge, every hold-my-beer moment changed the galaxy's understanding of possibility. On Earth, Mira stood on the observation deck of the lab, staring at the stars. "We're not just exploring," she said. "We're showing what humans can do. We're showing that curiosity and courage matter." Jake walked up beside her, "and that sometimes you have to take risks to see what's really out there." Lena joined them, holding a stack of papers filled with new ideas. "The galaxy doesn't know it yet, but we're just getting started." Somewhere far away in hidden council chambers, Vorth sighed. "The humans are unpredictable. They are unstoppable," Takar replied quietly. "And they inspire even the most cautious species to wonder. What if they can do the impossible again?" And indeed they could. Humanity had survived a star. They had discovered energy that no one else had seen. They had challenged the impossible and succeeded. The galaxy, for the first time, had no choice but to take them seriously. Automated threat levels remained at maximum. Fleets stayed on alert. Alien scientists debated in every sector. And somewhere, deep in the Council archives, a single note was written in large letters. If a human says, "Hold my beer," prepare for the unexpected. Prepare for wonder. Prepare for chaos. On Earth, Mira, Jake, and Lena looked at the stars, smiling. They did not care about the warnings, the protocols, or the panic they caused. They only knew one thing. The universe was full of mysteries, and humans were determined to explore every one of them. And the galaxy would never forget it. The galaxy had been watching humans for years now. Every experiment, every daring project, and every hold-my-beer moment had increased their reputation and their threat level. Yet no one could predict what would happen next. That unpredictability became painfully clear when the Draven Collective, a powerful alien empire with fleets larger than most star systems, decided to expand into neutral territories. The Interstellar Peace Council scrambled to respond. Fleets of alien warships formed defensive lines. Energy shields flared into place, and diplomats sent urgent messages begging for negotiations. But the Dravens were ruthless and precise. Entire sectors fell under their control in days. Amid the panic, humans prepared in their own unconventional way. Captain Riley Thorne, a young and daring human officer, had been assigned command of a small strike force. Not enough to fight the Dravons directly, but enough to try something new. Riley's crew was made up of engineers, pilots, and explorers, all with one thing in common: a refusal to accept impossible as an answer. "All right, team," Riley said, pacing on the deck of the command ship Endeavor. "The galaxy expects us to be cautious, slow, careful, but humans don't do cautious. Humans do amazing, and amazing usually means bending the rules a little." A young engineer named Milo raised an eyebrow. "Bending the rules? Like how, Captain?" Riley grinned. "Like this." He pointed at the tactical map. "We are going to turn the Draven attack into a problem they didn't see coming. We're small but smart. We'll be everywhere they aren't ready for. And if anyone asks what our plan is..." He paused for dramatic effect. "Hold my beer." The crew groaned, but they trusted Riley. Humans thrived on unpredictability. Where other species relied on large fleets and careful calculations, humans relied on imagination, courage, and a little chaos. The first mission involved a small asteroid belt near the Draven front line. Human engineers set up a network of satellites and devices designed to redirect asteroids at precise angles. Aliens in the Council monitoring the event were horrified. "They are going to destroy themselves," one shouted. Yet when the asteroids shifted, they struck Draven supply ships with perfect precision, disabling the fleet without harming neutral worlds. The humans celebrated. Jake, who had joined the mission as an advisor, raised a soda bottle. "Hold my beer," he shouted, and the team laughed even as alien fleets scrambled in alarm. Next came the black hole maneuver. Riley and the crew devised a plan to use the gravity of a nearby black hole to slingshot their ships and strike the Draven main fleet from unexpected angles. The Council watched with bated breath. No alien species would ever dare such a maneuver. They feared the black hole's pull. Humans did it anyway. With careful timing, calculations, and a surprising amount of luck, the humans swung around the black hole, hitting the Draven fleet in multiple locations at once. Systems that were supposedly indestructible failed. Communications went down. Draven leaders could not comprehend the attack. "Impossible," muttered Ambassador Vorth, who had observed from a distance. How do they survive the black hole's gravity? They don't fear it, Takar said. Fear slows reasoning. Humans have none. They improvise and adapt instantly. Even in the council, alien leaders began murmuring among themselves. Humans were small, unarmed in traditional terms. Yet they had disrupted a military empire with fleets 10 times larger. Every system that had doubted humanity's capability now reconsidered. Meanwhile, the human strike team pressed their advantage. Using old satellites, debris from destroyed ships, and improvised weaponry, they created confusion across the Dravon ranks. Pilots performed daring maneuvers, engineers hacked enemy systems mid-battle, and Riley coordinated the chaos like a conductor leading an orchestra. At one point, an alien officer asked Riley, "Do you even have a plan?" Riley smiled calmly. "Plan? Not exactly. Hold my beer." Every alien monitoring the battle shivered at the words. Every human move was unconventional, unpredictable, and deadly effective, not because they wanted to destroy, but because they refused to accept defeat. By the third day of the campaign, Draven forces were retreating. Entire fleets withdrew to safe space, refusing to engage further. Human ingenuity, improvisation, and courage had turned the tide without ever launching a traditional attack. Across the galaxy, word of humans' victory spread. Systems that had once feared conflict now celebrated the humans as heroes. Scientists studied their tactics. Diplomats reconsidered their strategies. Even enemy forces admitted defeat in private messages. Back on the Endeavor, Riley's team celebrated modestly. No one cheered loudly. Humans rarely did, but they exchanged quiet smiles and laughter. They had faced a threat that no one else thought they could survive, and they had succeeded. Miracle, who had joined the mission to study energy anomalies near the Dravon fleet, marveled at the creativity of the humans. "They don't follow the rules of war," she said. "They make their own rules. And somehow, it works," Jake nodded. "Humans don't overthink. We act, and when we act, we adapt. It's like the universe doesn't know what to do with us." The council convened to discuss the outcome. Every diplomat agreed. Humans were no longer a curiosity. They were a decisive factor in galactic events. Their methods were unorthodox, their results unbelievable, and their courage unparalleled. Vorth sighed. "We have underestimated them. Every calculation has failed. Every assumption about them has been wrong." Takar nodded gravely. "They are not just survivors. They are catalysts. Wherever humans go, they change outcomes. They cannot be ignored." Back on Earth, news of the war reached citizens in real time. Humans did not celebrate the danger. They celebrated the ingenuity and teamwork that allowed them to succeed. Schools, families, and communities followed the story in awe. Children practiced space maneuvers on simulations, laughing and saying, "Hold my soda," a small homage to the legendary phrase. The Dravens, meanwhile, retreated to their empire, still shaken by the humans' creativity. Their leaders were baffled. How could a species so small, so seemingly weak, disrupt a military empire? Every report concluded the same thing. Humans were unpredictable, courageous, and unstoppable when they acted together. In the aftermath, the galaxy learned an important lesson. Humanity was not just strong, clever, or lucky. They were a species capable of thinking in ways no other species could. They thrived in chaos, adapted instantly, and turned every risk into opportunity. Riley stood on the observation deck of the Endeavor, looking at the starfield beyond. "We did it," she said softly. "We turned the impossible into a victory," Mira smiled. "And they'll remember it. The galaxy will never forget humans." Jake leaned against the railing, shaking his head in disbelief. "I still can't believe it. We survived a full-scale war without losing anyone important, and we did it. Our way," Theo sighed. "Your way is terrifying sometimes, but it works." Humans had become a legend. Across the galaxy, every fleet commander, diplomat, and scientist would remember that small, fearless species from Earth. They would remember the words, "If a human says, 'Hold my beer,' prepare for the unexpected." Humans did not see themselves as heroes. They saw themselves as explorers, problem solvers, and dreamers. They acted because they could, not because they wanted recognition. And yet their courage and creativity had already changed the course of the galaxy. As the humans returned to Earth, the stars seemed brighter than before. Not because of light or energy or matter, but because the galaxy had learned to pay attention. A new era had begun, and humans were at its center. Somewhere in the Council archives, a record was made. Humans are small, but their courage, ingenuity, and fearlessness make them a force that cannot be predicted. All species must adapt when humans act, and on Earth humans laughed, celebrated, and planned their next great adventure, unaware of how closely the galaxy now watched them. Because one truth had become undeniable: humans could face the impossible and turn it into triumph. And every time they said the legendary words, the universe held its breath. The galaxy had changed, not because of wars, politics, or treaties, but because of one small species from a blue planet called Earth. Humans had proven themselves extraordinary, not through size, strength, or technology alone, but through courage, curiosity, and an unshakable determination to face the impossible. In council chambers across the galaxy, alien leaders convened to discuss humanity. The Interstellar Peace Council had learned an important truth: humans could not be predicted, controlled, or ignored. Any engagement involving humans now required constant monitoring, preparation, and respect. Yet on Earth, humans continued their work as if nothing had changed. Captain Riley Thorne, Dr. Mira Cole, Jake, Lena, and countless others were busy planning the next project, another adventure into the unknown. Mira stood in her lab, staring at a map of nearby stars. "We've done a lot," she said quietly. "Stardiver, the black hole maneuver, the war. We've survived and succeeded at things no one else dared." Jake leaned back in his chair, twirling a small alien gadget in his hand. And somehow the galaxy still expects us to act normal. Normal for humans meant curiosity, action, and laughter. It meant finding a solution when no solution seemed possible, and attempting the impossible just to see what might happen. Across the galaxy, alien fleets had updated protocols. The phrase "hold my beer" became an official warning. Whenever sensors detected humans initiating an experiment or adventure, automated defenses activated. Fleets moved into position. Shield systems recalibrated. Every species knew, if humans were acting, prepare for the unexpected. In the United Earth Science Corps, Mira and her team prepared a new experiment, Project Starlink, a network of energy collectors across multiple star systems. The goal was to capture stellar energy and safely transport it to Earth. It was ambitious, dangerous, possibly impossible. Theo frowned at the holographic map. "You're sure this is safe?" Mira laughed softly. "Safe is boring. We're humans. We do amazing. Hold my beer." The probe for Starlink launched, traveling across dozens of systems. Aliens observed from nearby stations, some hiding in fear, others recording eagerly. Humans were capable of anything, and every project had the potential to astonish or terrify the galaxy. Meanwhile, human engineers found ways to improve alien technology. They adapted energy shields, communication systems, and propulsion engines to work faster and more efficiently. They shared their knowledge freely, never using it to dominate, but always to explore, learn, and help. Even children became part of humanity's legend. On Earth, simulations and educational programs allowed them to experiment with miniature satellites, energy grids, and navigation systems. Each time a child tried something new, they whispered, laughing, "Hold my soda," a playful nod to the phrase that had inspired generations. Jake, now a senior engineer, oversaw one of the largest experiments in human history. They were building a gravity manipulation device designed to protect Earth from cosmic threats. Aliens from multiple star systems observed closely, convinced that the humans might fail. When the device activated, it performed perfectly. A test asteroid passing near Earth was redirected safely. No one could explain how it worked, except that humans had found a solution others could not imagine. From council chambers, Takar observed quietly. "They are not dangerous in the usual sense. Yet their courage and creativity surpass every known species. They change the rules of the galaxy simply by existing." Forth nodded slowly. "We cannot stop them. We cannot predict them. But we can admire them." As humanity expanded across the stars, humans began forming alliances, helping other civilizations with energy, technology, and knowledge. Yet they did not demand power or praise. They acted because they could, because they were curious, and because every challenge was an opportunity to learn. Captain Riley Thorne, now a respected leader, led a team to a distant star system threatened by a collapsing star. While other species debated evacuation strategies, Riley's team engineered a solution, a temporary energy barrier that stabilized the system long enough for populations to evacuate safely. Afterward, an alien diplomat asked Riley, "Why do you risk everything for others?" Riley smiled. "Because we can. Because someone has to. And because fear doesn't solve anything." The diplomat paused. "And the phrase, 'Hold my beer.'" Riley laughed. "That's just what we say when the impossible is about to happen." Over time, humans became a symbol across the galaxy. Wherever they traveled, they inspired curiosity, courage, and action. Every species learned that humans were unpredictable, yes, but also dependable in ways no one expected. Humans could solve problems, face danger, and create solutions where others only saw despair. On Earth, Mira, Riley, Jake, Lena, and countless others looked at the stars, planning new adventures. They did not seek fame. They did not seek recognition. They sought discovery, understanding, and the joy of exploring the unknown. One day, a young student asked Mira, "Why do humans do all these impossible things?" Mira smiled, placing a hand on the student's shoulder. "Because we have to. Because the universe is full of mysteries, and because when humans try, amazing things happen." The student nodded, eyes wide. "So that's why we say, 'Hold my beer'?" "Exactly," Mira said, laughing. "It's a promise to try, to explore, and to never back down from the impossible." Across the galaxy, automated systems continued to track human activity. Fleets stayed on alert. Scientists monitored energy readings, and every time a human project began, every time a team took a daring step, the galaxy knew something extraordinary was about to occur. Even alien children played games inspired by humans. They simulated adventures solving impossible problems and whispered, laughing, "Hold my drink." Humans had become a universal symbol of courage, creativity, and hope. Back on Earth, the legends of past projects, Sundiver, the Black Hole Maneuver, the war against the Dravens were told in schools, in homes, and at scientific academies. Stories of courage, teamwork, and ingenuity inspired new generations to explore, invent, and never fear the unknown. The Council, meanwhile, formalized humanity's influence. "Humans are a species unlike any other," one diplomat wrote. "Their courage and creativity are unmatched. All species must consider humans in planning, science, and exploration. And whenever a human says, 'Hold my beer,' prepare for outcomes beyond prediction." Humans did not care about warnings or protocols. They were too busy doing what they had always done, exploring, creating, laughing, and discovering. In the far reaches of space, Captain Riley's team discovered an uncharted nebula full of energy anomalies. Mira's team studied it. Jake and Lena proposed new projects to explore the nebula, and the galaxy watched with fascination, anticipation, and admiration. Even the Draven Collective, once enemies, began to respect humans. They did not fully understand them, but they recognized the power of courage, creativity, and determination. Humans had changed the galaxy not by force, but by daring to try. And somewhere in every corner of the galaxy, one phrase had become legendary: "Hold my beer." It was no longer just words. It was a warning, a promise, a symbol of courage and ingenuity. It meant that humans were acting, that the impossible was being attempted, and that the universe would never be the same. On Earth, humans gazed at the stars, laughing, planning, and dreaming. They had become a legend, not through conquest, not through domination, but through curiosity, courage, and the relentless pursuit of the impossible. And the galaxy had learned to follow their lead, with wonder, respect, and sometimes fear, because one truth had become undeniable: humans could do the impossible. They could turn chaos into opportunity. And whenever they said, "Hold my beer," the stars themselves seemed to shine a little brighter. The legend of humanity had arrived. It was not a story of power. It was a story of courage, of curiosity, of laughter. It was a story of humans, and the galaxy would never forget it.